and good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Scanner Guys. I'm Jonathan Higgins, your host for the next hour or so keep it right here. If you're watching the channel for the very first time, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We'd greatly appreciate that as well. So tonight we're talking about Uniden's police scanners and audio hacks. We've kind of covered some of these things in previous shows. I thought it would be a great way to kind of do a refresher on all of this. Thank you so much for everybody joining the broadcast tonight. We hope that you enjoyed tonight's presentation. Let's go right into it. So make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to our social media as well, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Instagram at The Scanner Guys. Check out the website as well, thescannerguyshow.com. Train Aficionado Live will be back next week, Wednesday, June the 19th of 2024, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, live right here on YouTube. Here's one of our previous shows that we've done over there, setting up your scanner for the railroads, the Uniden Bearcat, BCD 160 and 260DN. So those are two great radios that rail fans are probably going to start looking at because of the NXDN capabilities. All right, let's start the presentation here right now. So some scanner audio hacks, and this will probably pertain more towards the Uniden radios than any of the other brands because of a couple of things. I mean, for this feature alone, being able to use a Bluetooth speaker. Now, I've done this before with my scanner. So I have photographed there. The 260DN has a record line jack on the back of the radio. So that has a record line jack there. Also the 15 XTT and the 996T XTP2. All those base mobiles have a record line jack in the back. This allows you to have an independent output on the scanner that will have a steady volume. So it's unaffected by the volume knob on the front of the radio. So let's say if you have connected up this Bluetooth receiver transmitter to the external speaker jack in the back of the radio, that's going to have effect on the output. You know, if you raise the volume, if you lower the volume, it's going to have an effect. Of course, if you crank the volume all the way up, it'll make it so it's overmodulated in the through the Bluetooth transmitter. So the record line jack is one of the best things to use because it's a steady volume. You can put the volume up or down. It's not going to have any effect whatsoever on the record line jack. So that means that, you know, you may want to use this scanner inside of your listening room, you know, if you've got an office or a den or anything like that, and you want to turn the volume up when you're in the room, you can do that. If you're using a setup like this, you can turn the volume down and use a Bluetooth speaker in the living room, the bedroom, or wherever you need to listen to that radio outside of where it is. That allows you to be able to listen to it. So I actually use one of these things here. It's a Bluetooth receiver transmitter. You can pick these up pretty much at, you know, Amazon has a bunch of these. This is one that I've ordered, which you could probably search on their website and find the exact model. And it has a stereo cable that you connect to the jack in the back of the radio, in this case, on any of these radios. And some of the older models, as Todd mentioned, does have an output record jack. You would connect it up to that, and then you would set it to transmit, and then you would connect it up to a speaker, you know, a Bluetooth speaker. And we have tons of these Bluetooth speakers around the house nowadays. Most people do. And if you don't, you know, I recommend the Anchor Sound Core Bluetooth speaker, which I have photographed there, Typically, the transmitter can do anywhere from 20 to 30 feet away, so it's perfect for inside the house. You should be able to get to the neighboring rooms. Of course, any obstacles can affect the distance on the Bluetooth transmitter, so just keep that in mind. There also needs to be some setup on the scanner as well. You need to make sure that you turn it on so each individual channel has the ability to use the record line jack out. It needs to be turned on. On some scanners, you can make it so all the channels will go out the record line jack. So check your user manual. It's going to vary from radio to radio, but typically it's a setting for individually channels. It's going to be a setting within the individual channels menu to turn on or off record line. So if you do this and the record line is turned off, it's not going to feed that particular channel or channels down that jack. So you can kind of pick and choose those channels. So essentially, you need to do some programming on your scanner. Of course, programming in the channels you want to monitor. And then, of course, enabling, the record line jack to be activated on those particular channels or all the channels. And then you would get the Bluetooth transmitter and then the sound core speaker in this case, the Anchor. And the Anchor speakers are really great. And it's really simple to hook up. As I mentioned earlier, you've got several jacks in the back of your radio. Of course, the antenna jack, the record line jack, the external speaker, the power jack, and a few other jacks there. So you're going to, if your scanner does have a record line jack out, you're going to connect up the Bluetooth receiver transmitter to that particular jack. Make sure for those individual channels that you have it enabled, so those channels can be sent down the record line jack, so then it can be in turn transmitted through the Bluetooth speaker. And as I mentioned earlier, typically these are battery powered, like the model I do have here photographed. Battery lasts about 10 hours in use when it's transmitting, and it'll do anywhere from 32 to 50 feet, depending on the signal and if there's any obstacles. So it's perfect for the house to be able to do all of that. I really like this because for the most part I'm living in a rental, so I'm not able to run coax cable all over the place. So basically all my scanners are being fed here into the office, and then I use the Bluetooth receiver transmitter to be able to feed a Bluetooth speaker somewhere else in my house. So I'm able to listen to a scanner that is in this room here, and I can listen to it in the living room or the bedroom. But there's so many different Bluetooth speakers that are out there. People are mentioning Marshall and JBL are also phenomenal. Yeah, you just need a Bluetooth speaker and then just sync it up with the Bluetooth transmitter receiver. It's relatively simple. Once you have that done and you've adjusted, your scanner basically using record line jack out, this will allow you to be able to do that. You can use the external speaker line out, but keep in mind you won't be able to listen to the scanner with the onboard speaker because it's being fed down that jack at this point because you have a device connected to it. The other thing too is going to take some adjustment on that jack as well. If you have it turned all the way up, the signal could be overmodulated. If you turn it way down, it could be a soft audio. So whenever possible, make sure that you take advantage of the record line jack, because that allows you to be able to still use your scanner locally. The only thing is just make sure you don't turn the scanner off, because if you try listening to the Bluetooth speaker with the scanner off, you're not going to be able to hear anything with a record line jack. But hopefully that all makes sense. This is something that I use and I like. I mean, unfortunately, scanners don't have a built-in Bluetooth transmitter, so this tends to work really well, and I highly recommend trying this out. If you're kind of like me, you got the scanners connected up to a rooftop antenna and you're not able to connect it up to additional rooms in the house, having different scanners connected up to the rooftop antenna. This is certainly a fix for that. Here's a little bit of information about this speaker. It's 24-hour playtime, so it does have an extended battery. It's a great sound. It's waterproof. Just a few features of this Anchor speaker. So if you don't own a Bluetooth speaker, this is certainly a great one to great one to own. I mean, I highly recommend it. Looks really nice. I have one of these, so it's actually dedicated to the scanner versus using one of the Bluetooth speakers I already have. So I already have this speaker set up. It's got a battery built in, so I can carry it from room to room, out to the patio, from the bedroom to the living room. Certainly a really great speaker to take advantage of. Amplified external speakers. Now, there's one that I recommend, especially for in the vehicle. A vehicle can be a noisy environment. During the summer months, you may have the air conditioning running. That tends to be a little bit loud. You could also use the Bluetooth receiver transmitter in the vehicle as well. But if you tend to want to listen to the radio in the car, let's say you want to listen to talk radio or audiobook or your favorite radio station, and you want to be able to listen to your scanner at the same time, this speaker works really well. This is what I have in my truck. It's the Uniden Bearcat 4-inch amplified external speaker. It's the BC23A. It works great. Its maximum output is 15 watts. The speaker is an 8-watt amplified speaker. It has a 10-foot coax cable, which will connect up to the external jack in the rear of the radio if you're using a base mobile. You can use this with a portable radio as well, but keep in mind that portable jack has a resistor on it, reducing down the volume so when you use headphones. So you always have to use with a portable radio, when you're trying to amplify, the audio, you need to use a powered speaker in order to be able to counteract what the headphone jack is trying to do. It's trying to reduce down that volume, so when you do use headphones, you're not blowing out your eardrum. But this speaker works really great if you've got space in the vehicle to be able to do this. You have to either wire it up to a fuse box in your vehicle, or you can get one of those cigarette light adapters and then basically connect it up to that. I've shown a little bit more how to install this, but in the home, what I would recommend is some computer speakers. Those work really well on a scanner, being able to use powered computer speakers. You don't have to rewire anything. It's pretty simple to do. But in the vehicle, I strongly recommend this speaker. It's really nice and loud. During the summer months, I typically either run the air conditioner in the vehicle or I have the windows down. So you tend to have the volume a little bit higher on the scanner in order to be able to hear it. So the BC23A is certainly a really great speaker that I would highly recommend. I see a lot of questions coming in. I will try to get to those in the Q&A section. So I'll just cover these couple of slides, and then we'll go into those questions. The volume offset is certainly a really good thing to be able to take advantage of on your scanner. Many people don't know about this feature. What does that all mean? On the Uniden radios, this is a individual channel volume offset. So, and this comes in handy when it's analog. A lot of times, digital tends to be pretty loud. And analog, could vary depending on the settings on the repeater. Sometimes the audio is low, sometimes it's loud. I had a few departments when I was living out in Massachusetts that, it was a lot of analog. And there was some departments, the volume was extremely low, And then I would listen to all the other ones, and they were extremely, normal volume or loud. So this allows you to kind of offset the volume for each individual channel. So typically, the baseline is 0. So that's what the channel will default to. So let's say you have a department that's always low. You can always go into the individual channel or talk group and adjust the volume. So if we wanted to increase it 1 level, 2 level, or 3 level, we would do it in the plus. If that particular channel was extremely loud compared to everything else, we can adjust it as well. -1, -2, -3, to get it to somewhat right. So it's almost like if you've ever seen an audio board and it has what they call pots and they're sliders. So each individual source that's coming in is assigned to one of those sliders. So you can adjust each one based on, how loud or how soft you want the sound to be. So this is almost the same concept. It is basically allowing you to adjust individual volume to each channel. And this tends to work really well. But yeah, I would highly recommend volume offset. Is certainly handy. This is on many of the newer Uniden radios, and it's inside of the channel or talk group menu. So, as I mentioned, consult your manual for these various things, especially on the Uniden side. Most of these features tonight we're talking about are on the Uniden side. But this does not, as Joe mentions, this does not have any effect on the record line jack out. So the record line jack out is just the volume. It's set to a preset, and that's it. But when you're monitoring, this off the cuff, off the external speaker or the internal speaker, this is going to allow the volume to be adjusted, however way you want, either in the plus or in the minus. And that's a really cool feature. I have actually personally used this on several occasions when I was living in Massachusetts when the audio was extremely low. I would crank this up a couple of notches or crank it down, depending on the situation. But yeah, individual volume control, I would highly recommend using that. But those are some of the the things that I would recommend for Uniden Bearcat scanner audio hacks. I mean, there's lots of them, but tonight I wanted to cover some basic ones. We talked about using that Bluetooth receiver transmitter, which is really helpful. We also talked about, tonight the volume offset, and then, of course, using an external speaker like the one I showed. I mean, there's several different options. I'm just trying to get your creative juices going. If you have a problem, I'm trying to give you a solution. And, audio is very important. There's many different things that you can do out there regarding audio, but these are some basic things that I've done before. Let me take a look at a few of the questions that have came in the comments section. As always, Scott, Adam, Let's Go Rail Fanning, Chris Schultz, and all of our regulars, thank you so much for stopping in. Adam, I'm deeply sorry. I've been just so crazy busy with everything I got to get with you with the show that you're looking to do. Todd was asking about, hey, Jonathan, is there no ask for user ID for trunking systems on railroads? Todd, I'm not sure on your question. You're asking about talk groups or user IDs for the railroads. I'm not sure. I haven't monitored, to be absolutely honest with you, I haven't monitored an NXDN system that the railroads are currently using. I'm not too sure if it'll kick it out. I know with DMR, people have been able to set up DMR conventional and be able to turn on view user IDs, and they've been able to see each radio's user ID. I'm not too sure on NXDN. I don't have a lot of background with NXDN when it comes to the railroads. I mean, that would be really awesome if it showed like radio ID, or even imagine if it showed the locomotive number as the radio ID when they're transmitting off, especially if it's the engineer transmitting off that radio. That would be really, really neat. Adam mentions, for the Train Aficionado show, how to use drones, and that would be awesome to be able to get, a training on that. I do know a gentleman that does operate a drone professionally. He's done it for many years. He's worked, with public safety agencies and businesses, running his drone professionally. I could see if I can get him to possibly do a show. Todd mentions, the 796D has an output audio in the back as well. Many of the older radios will have a record line jack on it. Many people would connect it up to a tape recorder. Back in the day, you would connect it up to that line out to a tape recorder, and the tape recorder would have voice-activated recording. So it would kick on, when somebody's talking, and then, of course, when they stop talking, it would turn off. So when you listen to the tape back in the day, you wouldn't hear the minutes or silence in between each recording. It would play back to back with each recording. There are some digital recorders, I believe, that do that now, which you could use that record line jack for that as well. But the biggest key thing is enabling that record line audio, so it will be enabled and it'll go down that audio jack. As for the external speaker jack, that always will work, and the headphone jack will always work. Everything that's in your radio programmed audio-wise will go through those two jacks. It's just enabling on the record line jack, and for whatever reason, Uniden on certain models has it so you can turn every channel on, or you can individually turn it on in each channel. So maybe there's a few channels that you want to scan, but you don't care to record it. So you can do that as well. Paul mentioned a couple other different speakers as well. There's so many Bluetooth speakers in the market. I really like this Anchor speaker. I have it actually in black. I like this speaker. This is a speaker that I got, I think last year or the year before. And this one is dedicated to the scanner. So I will power this on. It'll connect up to that Bluetooth receiver transmitter. It works great. And plus it's battery. I can walk from room to room and do that as well. I also have this one, which I got way back when. Look how small this little Anchor speaker is. They don't produce this one anymore, but this is a little Anchor speaker that I have, and it works extremely well, and it's loud too for its size. So I've been a fan of the Anchor products for a bit. They're sold, of course, on Amazon, and I believe even Walmart and some other stores are carrying it. So you can. It's sold on the shelf, essentially, for a lot of these stores, so you'd have to be on the lookout for that. Yeah, the headphone jack, as I mentioned, there is a resistor in there reducing down the volume, so if you go to connect your headphones in, you don't blow out your eardrums. So that's the big difference in between the jack that's on, I know it's off camera, but the jack that's on the front of these radios here, these 536s, are headphone jacks, and they're labeled as a headphone jack. So that basically means it has a resistor. It's going to reduce down the volume when you connect up headphones. So this is not the best jack to connect up an external speaker. You want to use, in most radios, whether it be Uniden, Whistler, GRE, on the base mobile radios, there's going to be an external speaker jack. That's where you want to connect up that. And then with some radios, you're lucky enough to have a record line jack, like on the radios that I mentioned. Somebody mentions that they hooked up their scanners to their audio system. Yeah, that'll give you a nice, clear audio. Yeah, Brandon, yeah, you can use one of those dongles that have a dual transmitter for two Bluetooth speakers. I don't have any experience with it. I only have the one that'll transmit to one device at a time, but I'm sure it'll work no different than um, any of the other transmitters. So definitely keep that in mind. Robert's asking off subject. So basically, you would need to. I mean, I'm not too sure what you're asking here, but it sounds like you want to receive off of your vehicle's transmitter, possibly. Um, it's so for your vehicle, it's going to be an input. It's going to be a receiver when it comes to Bluetooth. So it'll do your phone, any other Bluetooth things that are transmitting to it. So if you were, let's say you were using a scanner in the vehicle and you wanted to use a Bluetooth transmitter for the scanner, that would be a device that your car would be able to see and connect to. As for your vehicle, doesn't have a transmitter when it comes to Bluetooth. So it's not like if you were listening to Sirius XM in your vehicle and you wanted to go to a Bluetooth speaker, it's not going to do it that way. It's only a receive only on that end. It's not a transmitter, if that makes sense. Lapel speakers do work really well. I mean, there's a couple of them that are out there that are amplified. There's one that's on Scanner Master's website that is it's called it's been renamed on the Scanner Master website. It's a Scanner Blaster if you look it up. Um, that is a powered lapel speaker, works really well. You connect it up to the headphone jack on your scanner on the portable, and it works great. I actually have one. I recommend turning the volume down pretty low and then adjusting from a low volume up to wherever it's comfortable listening wise for you. The only thing about it is it doesn't have a switch to turn on or off the speaker. So as soon as you put that charged up battery inside of the speaker, it's always going to be powered. So what I recommend doing with that, only have the battery in there when you're using the lapel speaker, and then take it out when you're not using it, because you'll find that if it's going to last X amount of hours, and then you have to recharge it again. So typically when I use that speaker, I'll go out, use it for a couple hours, and then I'll take the battery out, and you may be able to get 8 hours worth of life. I can't remember what the amount of time that battery lasts. So maybe use it 2 hours here, and then another 2 hours there, and then maybe another hour here, and then eventually it'll have to be charged. But if you leave it in, it's just get the battery. Let's say it's a 8 hour battery life, so it's going to last as soon as you put it in to the end of the day, and that's it. So if you're not using the speaker constantly for 8 hours, then take the battery out. That's one thing. I really wish that it had an on and off switch. So when you were using it, turn it on, and when you're not using it, turn it off so it doesn't drain that battery. But unfortunately, they didn't make that with an on and off switch. But it's great for noisy environments. John R. mentions Rhode Island, a volume offset is a good thing. Yes, depending on what you're monitoring, yeah, huge. Being able to adjust individual volume for each channel, which is definitely key. Tuna love. Okay, Joe, I have no clue what conversation you're having, but anyway. Um, Jim's asking about the Uniden releases. Any updates for the 16260DN? I have both the production models. I've been using the 160 a lot, rail fanning, and I've been pretty impressed. Just to give you a little bit of background, I know a lot of you watch the Train Aficionado show and watch the Scanner Guys show, but the 160, I've been using that rail fanning lately. And I have a unication radio that works really well. Not a unication, Anytone, sorry. So I have an Anytone radio that I typically use, and that tends to work pretty well. So I've been using that, and I have the same antenna. So I use the Smiley antenna on both radios. And I found the reception is pretty much matched in between the two-way radio and the scanner. So I'm pretty impressed with the 160DN. I really think it's definitely a good radio. I mean, it's a bit more pricier than the 125AT, but definitely it's a great radio, and I highly recommend it. The 260 is a fan favorite of mine. You know, basically having that 125AT in a base mobile, I love it. You know, not having to deal with a 15X for railroads, you know, where it's complicated with its memory structure. It's pretty much, you know, the 260 is very much like the 125AT with a bank-driven memory, so it's easier to understand, easier to program. It's a lot simpler. So definitely a good thing there. But there hasn't been any, as Joe mentioned, there hasn't been any other firmware updates that, you know, have came out as of yet. But definitely some cool stuff there. Just trying to look at some other questions here. Of course, it's a live show, so I end up, you know, looking through, you know, some of the questions here. Wireless remote head. As we saw a couple weeks ago at the Dayton Hamvention, Uniden released a, not Uniden, Scanner Master is producing a remote head. It's going to be wired. I have no background on it, unfortunately. I'm not doing any testing of it, so I have no clue other than what was released in that video. I did reach out to Scanner Master and Rich Barnett. He declined coming on the show. I wanted to be able to talk to him a little bit more about this, but he didn't want to come on the show. So I know just as much as you guys, and basically I asked him questions via email, and he said everything's in that video. So unfortunately, I couldn't get any more information out of him on that. And of course, you know, that was a complete surprise for me as well. I was completely in the dark as well, you know, on that. The backlight on the 160. Jim's mentioning about extending the time like it is on the 125AT. I typically don't run the backlight, especially if I'm just running solo on batteries, because it tends to drain the batteries a lot, and that's how with the 160DN I'm always using it on batteries, unless I'm at a hotel room, you know, and it's by the railroad tracks. You know, typically the 160 I use strictly for railroads. Then I would plug it in and then not use the battery as the source of power. Yeah, I mean, Brandon, if you're able to do it, you know, mounting a scanner on a motorcycle, yeah, those RAM mounts that you're mentioning are really good. I've used the RAM mount when Uniden made a windshield mount for the Uniden Home Patrol 1 and 2. And now, if anybody has felt how heavy that radio is, I mean, it's got 4 AA batteries plus the actual unit itself. And it's RAM makes really good products. So if you're able to find any RAM mounts that'll work for your application, I would highly recommend it. I was very impressed with the one that they made, which we kind of made, which was made for the Home Patrol 1 and 2. Worked really well. Yeah, the 125 AT is a great unit. It rocks. I mean, it's a great scanner. I would highly recommend it for railroads and aviation. If you're monitoring, NXDN or DMR, then you probably go up to the conventionally, I should say, you would go up to the 160 or 260 DN. But yeah, the 125 AT is still one of my favorites. Joe's looking into the backlight thing. Jim's asking a follow-up question about the 125 AT versus the 160. I'm guessing audio quality has been great for me. Not an issue. I know, Jim, that you wrote me an extensive email about what you thought of the 160. I'm not too sure if you just got one that just wasn't subpar. It wasn't the best that came out of the assembly line, but I'm quite impressed with the 160. The audio seems to be really good. Reception, really good. I've just been all around impressed with the radio. So, and now finally having my production model, it seems to be really good. Jim, you're mentioning about sending a remote head. I wish I got one for testing, but unfortunately they didn't include me. I'm not too sure why. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that they send me a completed one, so I'll be able to talk about it on here. To be able to kind of show it off and talk about it. But I don't know. That would be something I would have to talk with Scanner Master. Joe came back with the 160 backlight is settable to 10 to 30 seconds. With squelch, I assume that may be different from the 125 AT. I don't have a scanner within reach of me right now. Other than these radios here, I don't have a portable with me. I have all my portables together when I go out rail finning. I have actually a backpack which has, typically you would put drinks on the side. My two scanners sit on there. My Anytone, Anytone, and then my scanner is on the other one. So I don't have my scanners right next to me. Push button. Thank you so much, Dale. I'm hoping that I get, one of those remote heads. I know a lot of people have, liked the idea of getting a remote head. Unfortunately, I wasn't included in that. I'm not too sure if anybody else is testing it. Does the volume offset work per system or per channel? I never used this yet. So there's a couple of different ways, and you have to consult your manual depending on the model. I've seen it in the manual where you can do a master where every channel in the radio will enable record, record line, and then there's individual channels. So how you would do it if you wanted to just do it for individual channels, you would go into the menu for the channel or talk group, and then it'll be one of those options to be able to individual do volume offset. Sorry, I read that wrong. Sorry, this is a live show. So volume offset's going to be done to each individual channel. So you're not going to really boost every single channel. I mean, it's not what it's intended to be. So basically, it defaults to 0, which should be your normal volume. But if you've got an agency that's on one frequency, they talk really low. You want to bring that volume up, maybe a couple of notches. So that basically on each channel, you're going to adjust up or down, kind of getting everything at that 0. Maybe for, the fire department, for whatever reason, they're pretty loud, and the police department's very quiet. So what you want to do is probably bump that up to a 2 or a 1 plus, and you'll be able to have it level with the fire department. So it's kind of getting everything everything's kind of like this on the scanner and the volume offset. You know, when you bump up certain channels to plus or minus, it's going to get it all at the same level, hopefully. And that's kind of the intention of it is kind of getting everything up. So Brandon was asking about the Siren app for Apple Watches and other smartwatches. So the Siren app was actually made several years ago, and the primary radio was the 536. You would use the Wi-Fi dongle in order to be able to use the Siren app. So I'm not too sure if Uniden is doing anything more with the Siren app. I don't think there's any more investing into it. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, like you said, many watches, you're able to install apps and be able to do things like that. I'm not too sure on that. That would be kind of cool, to be able to get it so you're able to control your scanner through your watch. A lot of people doing things, Apple Pay, in other ways, in other things with their watches, but I'm not too sure on that. That's more of a Uniden question. On the SDS, Robert's asking, yeah, it would be individual channels on the SDS. You would have to consult your manual for volume offset, and then it'll tell you how to get there. So you go to an individual channel or talk group, and it'll be in that menu somewhere, volume offset, and then it literally looks like that slide that I showed you earlier with the plus or minus. So you would go up either 3 notches or down 3 notches. So somebody asked about, John B. was asking, why can't I get DMR on my Home Patrol 2 if they can't do it and they can do it on the... Okay, so John, it's probably a hardware thing. So when the Home Patrol 1 and 2 came out, it doesn't support NXDN, DMR, or Pro Voice. So it needs to also have hardware that's supporting it. Those radios are not software driven. Those require some hardware. So with your 996P2, it has hardware to support it. But it just won't do it, essentially. So maybe eventually, if there's ever considered a Home Patrol 3, that'll be something that'll be available through the Home Patrol 3, being able to do DMR and Pro Voice and things like that. So, I mean, I don't think it's possible at all. With the current hardware that's inside the radio is not able to do what you're looking to do, when it comes to DMR, Pro Voice, and NXDN. I mean, it's a limitation on the radio, and I'm sure it's probably firmware and hardware combination. DMR... NXDN and Pro Voice are, available on a lot of radios as a paid upgrade on the Uniden side of the house. There's a whole massive list. I mean, on your Home Patrol lineup, it would be, your SDSs 1 and 2, your 436, 536, and of course your clean slate scanners, which would be your P2s, which would be your 996P2 and 325P2s. So these all, support DMR, NXDN, and Pro Voice. Yes, the 325 P2 has DMR, which you would have to do the paid upgrade. DMR works great on the 160 and 260s. It's not a paid upgrade, and the other thing too, it will not support the trunking portion of it. That's been asked a lot, Brandon, about the Home Patrol 3. If there is one, will it support Bluetooth? And that's something that Uniden would have to consider. I'm not sure if that's something in the works or something that's being thought about. But, I mean, that would be great for you, especially on the motorcycle. You'd be able to see your controls of the Home Patrol and then plus use Bluetooth in order to listen to the scanner maybe through your helmet. which would be the ideal situation for you, being able to hear that scanner audio in a helmet. I mean, that would be perfect, for a motorcyclist person. Being able to hear that audio in one ear, so you're still able to hear, the environment around you. But yeah, that would be ideal. Something with a Home Patrol 3. If it does ever come out with a Home Patrol 3. What I like about the Home Patrols 1 and 2 is the touchscreen display, which makes it super easy to operate when you're driving. And plus, the screen is nice and big as well. Yeah, and Joe mentions, the HPs are they're for um, certain users. I mean, uh, you know, advanced users tend to go towards the clean slate scanners, and then some people use some of the HP scanners, and they are able to use some of the high end features. Yeah, Pro Voice is certainly dying off. That's absolutely right. With Pro Voice, typically you're going to have systems that are currently online. They're slowly getting replaced. I can think of one that's online, which is the MBTA subway and bus ops. So if you are interested in monitoring that particular system, you would need, Pro Voice. But if you were in an area where Pro Voice was never used, you don't need it, essentially. So a lot of great stuff that's out there. Yeah, so I mean, certainly, Joe watches. He's a representative of Uniden, so I'm sure he's jotting down furiously a lot of things that a lot of you are mentioning. You wish this radio would do this, or you wish that it would do that. The 325 is a great radio. I mean, it's small and compact. Uh, Works off of AA batteries. It's great to have a small radio that fits in your shirt pocket. So, yeah, certainly I completely agree with that. A lot of the radios are really nice, that are out nowadays. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of slides, and then we'll wrap up the show for the evening. If you have any additional questions, post them down in the comments. But what I'm going to do, or in the live chat, I should say. So let me just do a couple of slides, and then we'll wrap up the show for the evening. So once again, we talked about some police scanner hacks on the Uniden Bearcat side for audio tonight. So we want to remind you that this show is brought to you by you, viewers like you. Certainly watching the show, watching some of the ads helps us out. Also, shopping our merch store. If you bought anything from our merch store, such as hats, t-shirts, stickers, anything like that, that's super helpful to us. We get a portion of the sale there. And then, of course, any products that we talked about tonight that are available through ScannerMaster, there's an affiliate link on every single one of our videos. So basically, click that affiliate link, do your shopping, and we get a small portion of the sale, which is really helpful. We want to remind you to follow, like, and subscribe to our social media as well, so that you don't miss anything, such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at The Scanner Guys. Check out the website as well, thescannerguyshow.com. I'm actually thinking about doing a relaunch of the website, kind of give it a new, fresh look. That's something that I have in the works. I'm not too sure when I'll do that. Train Aficionado Live is the other show that airs on the opposite Wednesdays. So I noticed a lot of people asked a lot of questions about, rail fanning and things like that tonight. If you want to get more into it or learn more about the rail fanning hobby, certainly check out Train Aficionado. Of course, occasionally we do talk about scanners on there, and we talk about other things like photography and rail fanning spots and things like that. So if you're not a subscriber of Train Aficionado on YouTube, make sure you do that tonight. Our next show will be next Wednesday, so that'll be Wednesday, June the 19th. 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, live shows on Wednesdays on the opposite of the Scanner Guys. And just so you know, Train Aficionado shows air on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, and the Scanner Guys air on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month. And then if there so happens to be a fifth Wednesday, I usually take that off, so which is really nice. So 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, next Wednesday, June the 19th. That was tonight's presentation about, Uniden Bearcat police scanner audio hacks. Hopefully you're able to walk away with a couple of things that, were interesting and being able to take advantage of some other features as well. I haven't been to the Illinois Railway Museum. I would love to be able to go over there at some point. That's something that's also on my bucket list. Yeah, the Anytone has Bluetooth and GPS built into it. I haven't used the Bluetooth or the GPS on the unit. Usually I have pretty good luck listening to it. The volume's pretty loud. I have my camera strap, and then usually I'm able to clip it up here, so it's almost like a lapel speaker, the way I have it carried on me. So I'll either clip that radio or the 160 or the 125 AT, wherever I have with me. I'll clip it up here, so it actually is almost like the radio is a lapel speaker. It's small enough, and I already have my camera strap across me. Next week's rail fanning spots, I'm not sure. I'm still trying to get more locations. I'll start putting together that slide deck, though. I know that you've sent over a whole bunch. Let's go rail fanning over. My dad has actually sent a few. I like to get a few more before I post the show. Joe mentions, in the comments that Bluetooth was evaluated for some of the radios. Some of the radios are already out. Was rejected by the engineers, but it's also being considered again. So that's good that it's still on the table and maybe someday be considered for models. So that would kind of make it a little bit more interesting. I mean, the great thing about that, if that did come to fruition, maybe a Bluetooth lapel speaker. Many law enforcement departments have those Bluetooth lapel speakers. It would be great if Uniden manufactured a scanner where Bluetooth was supported, and you could do a Bluetooth lapel speaker as well with an on and off switch, so you don't have that battery issue like that scanner blaster one with having to eject the battery out each time that you're not using it. I thank you so much each and every week for watching either the Train Aficionado show or the Scanner Guys show. I saw some comments, tonight in the chat. This is a one-person operation, doing the show. So it's a labor of love. I greatly appreciate every one of you, watching. I mean, it's an undertaking of producing and putting together and hosting almost 50 shows a year. If you think about it, these shows don't get slapped together. I end up putting together a slide deck once I come up with a topic, and then, of course, promoting it through social media, so marketing each show, and then being here live, anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour, talking to you guys and putting together the show. So I know there's a lot of armchair people that really don't get it and like to comment things. But, there's a lot of work to this, especially when one person's doing the show each and every week, basically starting it from a topic idea and then, putting together a slide deck and then marketing it and then actually hosting it. So I'm pretty much a straight shooter, as many of you know. If I don't know the answers, I will try to get you the answer. Or if I don't know, I'm not going to BS you. Like there's some questions that I've gotten in the chat in the past. If I don't know, I don't know. Thankfully, there's other people out there that are able to maybe have experience in that certain field of what they're asking. But I appreciate every one of you watching the show tonight. Thank you so much for watching and your support. We'll catch you again next week for Train Aficionado Live, and then the Scanner Guys will be the last show of June, and then we'll be on to July. So we appreciate every one of you watching tonight. I think certainly it was a great topic of discussion. With Uniden Bearcat Police Scanner Audio Hacks. Have a great evening. We'll catch you again next week.